Hello and welcome. I am Kim Keen, host of the One of a Kind You podcast. I started this podcast to share my journey of my past self, a woman who was struggling with leaving her teaching career and adjusting to stay at home mom life, to help other women with their motherhood journeys or their work life balance journeys so they can let go, make themselves a priority without all the sacrificing. So, if you're a regular listener to One of a Kind You, I am so glad you're tuning in for another episode. If you're new here, thanks so much for stopping by and checking it out. The way that this podcast usually works is I share a journal entry of mine from 5 or 6 years ago when I was in the thick of the struggle, and I reflect on what I know now as a certified life coach and what I wish I knew then. But today, you don't have to listen to me blabbing on like a talking head. You get to hear me chatting with the wonderful Lola Nicole. She is a fellow podcasting mom, and she has 3 kids, 2 teenagers, and 1 preteen, and who probably is more like a teenager. And so, because there are older siblings at home to model what we do, and I have the same thing going on in my own house. So I'm just so glad that you're here with us. Thank you so much, Lola Nicole, for taking the time to chat.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
excited to see you again. We just saw each other like a week ago, so it's nice.
Yes. And so I always love when I get to chat again because I A, love to talk if you haven't figured it out, but B, I always love connecting with other moms because
Yeah,
often I feel like I'm in this mom journey alone, especially because I work from home. So it gets to the point sometimes where I like talk to the dogs and then I answer for them.
yeah, definitely that. I've been there many times having conversations with my dog, so
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And then I know it's bad when my kids say to me, like, the dog's not gonna answer, right?
Like sometimes she does. She will nod or she gives me, we have something going on. Okay, don't make me seem crazy. All right, she's responding. She knows what I'm saying.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like they wink at you, and I'm like, yeah, and I wink, I'm like right back at you. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm always glad when I get a chance to talk with moms on multiple occasions. So you're a podcasting mom. I know that podcasting isn't the only thing that you do, but start by telling us a little bit more about yourself if I missed anything, and how you got started with podcasting.
Well, I actually like accidentally started podcasting. I didn't know anything about podcasting. I thought you had to be like, I thought it was like NPR basically, like it had to be like structured. And so I was like, oh no, I could never do that. And then a friend sent me like My Favorite Murder, and I was listening to it and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like you can have like commentary and like talk about whatever you want. That's neat. And so I, by day, I'm a licensed cosmetologist. So we had just moved to a whole new state. I knew no one in the state. I had my kids, and then I was dual state parenting because my oldest is on a dance team. So she was still in another state. So I was back and forth, and it was just a whole bunch going on. And in the thick of that, I was dealing with a miscarriage.
Oh,
So it
I'm
was
sorry.
just a bunch of stuff happening in my life at once. And I was like, well, where do you go? Like, what do you do? And I was like, my friend was like, why don't you try a podcast? And I was like, well, nobody's gonna listen to me. Like, I'm a mom. Like, no one wants to hear a mom talk about mom things. And she's like, no, just like talk about whatever you want. It's fine. And I was like, okay, fine. So it kind of started as like an open journal, and I just opened my voice notes one day and just started recording in my car. And I did like the free Anchor podcast thing, started it up, and I uploaded it and it was like, okay, we'll see where this goes. And now, 3 seasons later, here we are. So I kind of accidentally fell into podcasting. It wasn't something that I had planned to do. And I just enjoyed the ride along the way. So, and the podcasting community has been like really like welcoming, and it's been a really great experience and learning experience, and you meet a lot of people like I've met moms and business women and just all kinds of people that you kind of are able to socialize with, especially when I started, lockdown had just begun. So no one was, talking or seeing anyone. They were just, at home. So it was kind of the perfect time for me to fall into it because I didn't have anyone to talk to. And then, with a podcast and you're meeting people, there's your people to talk to. So that was kind of my way of getting my social interaction without having to leave my house, basically.
Yes, because we weren't allowed to leave our house. And so,
Right.
and then not being able to leave the house and the walls closing in. And, gosh, I love my family and all, but it was like talking to them, seeing them 24/7. It was like, okay, when are you people going to get out of the house so I can
Right.
go back to the way that things were? And it was like, we're still not 100%. But I totally feel it's like not having anyone to talk to because I started my podcast too during the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No.
it's,
It was it was a struggle. You're like, who do I talk to? Like, I can't really see my friends. And especially like for me and a bunch of other people actually that I found out that moved right before a pandemic. So they're like, I literally have no one to talk to because I don't know anyone. Like,
mhm.
and now we have to be at home. So podcasting was a great way to kind of expand. And I'm an introvert kind of naturally. So
Really?
I don't like I can't go out and just meet people on the fly. Like my husband's the extrovert. Like he can meet someone at a gas station and start a conversation about a peanut. Like it does not matter. But me, I am very introverted in social situations. So this was a way for me to be social without having to be social, if that makes sense.
It
So
does.
yeah,
Yes.
so that I was like, okay, this works really well for me. Like I can be myself and meet people, but I don't actually have to people. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's so funny because you and my husband are similar, and I am very similar to your husband. It doesn't matter where we go. I'm always talking to someone, and then they're like, "Oh, how long is this conversation going to be?" So we always say, so I get it from my dad's family, and we always joke that it's the Bradley gift of gab because my grandfather was like that, my dad is like that, I'm like that, my brother is like that. And to the point where it's like my dad is the worst of us all now that my grandfather has passed. My grandfather used to be the absolute worst. And it's like, you've been talking to that stranger for 45 minutes. Like they need to go and you need to go. So come on now, like end the
Right.
conversation.
Yeah, my I don't even know where I get like because I feel like I'm one of the well, my uncle is kind of introverted and quiet as well. So I guess that's maybe where I get it because my dad's quiet too. So maybe those two. But I feel like the rest of my family is pretty extroverted. So I have no idea where we got our introversion from, but we're like the quiet ones of the bunch, I guess.
Yeah, well, maybe you just never needed to be extroverted because everybody took care of it for you. So you were able to just fly
Right.
like
Everyone
Loki in
was
the
doing
background.
it for me.
And you're like, this is
Exactly.
great. Like I just got all the interaction that I needed and I didn't even have to do any of the work. So
Right.
until next time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, funny. So, what prompted you to move? Like, what prompted him to move to a whole nother state?
Well, we lived in Florida for 15 years. So we wanted somewhere that has seasonal change. And, anybody that knows Florida, there's not really seasonal change. It's like hot, and then you might get a couple cool days, and then it's hot again. So,
Yes.
and then rain. So we were like, well, we just want like a little, we didn't want to go too far because it was up to my husband. We'd move to Alaska. He loves anywhere cold. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm not moving like all the way to Alaska. Like,
Right.
that's not happening right now. So he's like, okay. So we were like, all right, well, let's try like a couple hours because our immediate family is all still in Florida. So
Okay.
we wanted to try and be as close as possible, especially since I was kind of going back and forth with my daughter and her dance team. So we picked Georgia because you got a little seasonal change and it wasn't too far away. So that
And
was
Georgia
kind
is
of
gorgeous.
yeah, it's nice. It's extremely hot this year. I don't know what's happening right now. Like our weather is just not figuring itself out. But yeah, it was when we moved here. We had I think all 4 seasons the first year that we got here, and we were like, oh, this is a refreshing change. Like we've had snow, we've had summer, so we just wanted to kind of get out of our comfort zone
Hmm.
basically and just try to expand a little bit because I feel like if you always stay stagnant, you're never going to learn and grow. So we didn't want to just be like, we're going to stay here forever. Like, if we wanted to live in Florida and this is where we wanted to lay down our roots, then we wanted to make sure that we were okay with that. So we were like, let's try a different state. Let's, try something new. We thought about other states. We thought about New York, and then we went and saw those prices. We love New York and we have family up there, but absolutely not. Those prices are outrageous. So we were like, no to
Right.
that. And then we were like, no, maybe California. And they were like, no, absolutely not. Earthquakes, not gonna do it. So we were like,
Yes,
all right,
and
well, let's
mudslides, and also
right.
super high prices. Like their
So
gas right
much.
now is like almost $9 a gallon.
Oh my gosh, my friends up there,
Crazy.
I feel so bad for them. I'm like, just walk everywhere, cause like, oh my gosh, those gas prices. Like, yeah. So we tried like different states, and we were just like, ugh, the pricing. So Georgia's where we kind of landed to see, how we did away from our family and everything, because we've always, they've always been there, and we just wanted to, kind of do it on our own, kind of branch out a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you were willing to take that risk because I can tell you right now, there is no way my husband would be on board for that because we just moved in the fall.
Yeah.
Um, and that was against his will. So we were having some problems in our neighborhood. We lived there for 6 years, never intended on moving. That was supposed to be our forever house. We had already done a ton of work to it. It still needed a ton, but like we loved it. We had the perfect backyard. It was just like the best house ever. And then the neighborhood started taking a turn for the worse. So I said to my
Oh no.
husband, we need to move. And he was like, I'm sorry, what happened? Because we were flying to Arizona for a trip. And on the airplane ride to Arizona, I was like, everything is going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. The neighborhood's going to be okay. The house is going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. And then when we were in Arizona, the you know what hit the fan in the neighborhood, and no one wanted to do anything about it.
Oh
And
no.
so, like, literally the next morning after we got back, I said to my husband, we need to sell the house. And he was like, I'm sorry, what happened to everything is going to be okay. And so he reluctantly got on board. And then and of course, there's no inventory right now in the housing market. Well, at least there wasn't
Right.
last summer, this time last year. So we looked at 5 houses and they were all nice houses, but like nothing that made us say, like, yes, this is it, except for the house that we bought. And that was mostly me. And it's a 300-year-old farmhouse. And it's like it
Oh,
needs
cute.
so much work. So have you ever seen the movie The Money Pit with Tom Hanks? It's an 80s movie.
Okay, yeah, I know that
And
movie.
so that's literally our house.
Oh
Like
no.
every time you touch something, it breaks. And he's at the point where he's like literally going nuts. So he's settled in now, but at first it was real rough.
Yes.
Real rough. And he was like, we are not, like, I am the only way I'm leaving this house is if my body is in a box and they carry me out.
Yeah, we
So
didn't
there's
wanna buy just yet, like, we wanted to, like, make sure we were gonna live, we were gonna like where we lived,
yeah.
so that was the main reason we didn't buy in Florida, because we had looked at a house. I actually feel like it was just maybe divine intervention, I don't know, but we looked at a house, it was like a dream, and I was like, "Yes, this is it, it's the perfect colors, like, it has everything we want," and there was something wrong, like, with the there was, like, a huge pit in the back that
Hmm.
belonged to, like, the city or something, but it was, like, eroding, so, like, that was a whole issue, and we were wondering why it was still on the market, so we were like, "This is a beautiful house, it's, like, in a cul-de-sac, like, what's happening?" And that, like, was the main problem, and
Hmm.
the owner just would not budge on the price, and we were like, "Yeah, but we're gonna have to, like, we're gonna have to pay for that, so, like, we
Yeah.
don't wanna and we're gonna have to live through the construction that the city's gonna have, like, no thanks."
Yeah.
So he was like, "Okay, well, let me think about it, and then I'll think about taking your offer." And we're like, "Okay." And then I guess that night he thought about it, and he was like, "No, I don't wanna do it." So he took the house off the market, and we woke up, and our realtor was like, "Yeah, it's gone. It just, like, disappeared." And then I guess she called his realtor, and he was like, "Yeah, he decided he's not gonna sell right now." And I was like, "Well, that was it. Like, we looked at so many houses, and, like, that was the one. And if I can't
Uh-huh.
have that one, then I don't wanna do it." So after
Yeah.
that, we were like, "Well, maybe we'll just try, and move somewhere else, rent for a little while longer, and just try different areas, see how we like it. And then, maybe when we come back, it'll be ready and for sale." It was not. Someone else bought it afterwards. It was
Oh,
so
that's the
bad.
worst.
But that's neither here nor there. I was like, "Okay, well, then it wasn't mine. It wasn't my
Yeah.
house." And we moved, and my husband's business actually thrived a lot better in Georgia. So, I mean, it was a plus for us in some areas. I was
Yeah.
just lonely and didn't get the house that I wanted, but we were just like, well, right now we just because he does not want to do another huge move. He was like, if it's not our forever home, I'm not moving. Like, if we're not buying a house, I'm not moving. And I was like, okay,
Hmm.
I get that, because moving is a nightmare, and
Oh my
moving
God, yes.
from another state is an even bigger nightmare. So he
Yes.
was like,
I
please,
can't.
it has to be like the home that we're buying if we move again. I was like, okay, so now we're just kind of like just checking things out and like seeing where we land.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, so my husband, he's on board. Well, he got on board to move, and then we got here, and he was a little cranky about the house because he's forgetting that this house is a marathon; it's not a sprint. So
Right.
we're going to be working on this house for the next 20 years, and it is what it is. And so he's settled in finally, but he's made it very clear that we are never, ever, 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 ever moving again.
It's like, please, please don't make me move. You
Right? I'm
guys
like,
can move. I'll stay right here. I'm not
yes.
moving.
Yes. And so, but it's okay because I love this house. So, and we have our own land. So, like, there's no neighborhood drama. We have, the house, like, there's a house that almost shares our driveway, part of our driveway. And I think I think this was a family compound,
Okay.
because we're only the third family to have owned it in the 300 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So the first family, they literally owned it for like 250 years. And so
Wow.
I think the house over here, we have really great neighbors, but I think it was part of the family compound. And then no one, like the dad who owned this house, got sick. And so they sold it because the kids didn't want to take it on.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only reason it ended up on the market. So the
Wow.
people we bought it from, they had it off and on the market for 4 years. So I'm like, it was just waiting for us. And ironically
Yeah.
enough, my friend's friend made an offer on the house, on this house, and which is like crazy town, that like my friend's friend made an offer on it like 2 years ago, and they turned
Yeah.
her offer down. And she's
Oh
like,
man.
she's so jealous that you have her house. I was like, well, it was not her house, it's my house.
Right. It's like it's waiting for me clearly because
It
I
was
got
waiting
it.
for
So
me. So, but a question for you. How
uh,
did your family take it when you said that you were moving?
my or his family was just like, I mean, I guess if you want to, but like my family was just like, oh my gosh, you're doing what now? Like you would literally have thought I was moving to Alaska the way my family was like freaking out. Like they were like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be so far away. I was like, but it's like 7 hours. It's okay, guys. Like I can always come back. It's not like permanent. We're not crossing the border or anything. Like we're literally just trying something new, like because our family has been there for years. So
Mm-hmm.
we're like, we wanna, leave. Like some of our family members are like, I'm never leaving. I'm living in this town until I die. Please don't ask me to leave. And we were just like, we didn't want to do that. So naturally, our family was just like, you're doing what now? You're gonna, I don't, that sounds bad. That sounds like a terrible idea. It's like they were not on board at first at all. It's a lot of tears, a lot of why would you do this? And then now they're coming around to it and they're like, okay, I guess. But like now I'm homesick. So now like we're both homesick and we're like, do we want to go back to Florida? Like we kind of miss it. So I'm like, I mean, it gave us, if we do move back, it gave us, a new adventure. And we like to travel. So it's not like we won't ever travel again. We just kind of wanted to see what it was like to live somewhere else.
Yeah. So when your family didn't react like, woohoo, like great idea, good job, did you second guess your decision at all? And like, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe this is a terrible idea.
Yeah, I had many therapy sessions. Like I was just like talking to my therapist, like, please tell me that I am not a psychopath. Like, is this wrong? Like she was like, no, it's like this is a normal part of life. Like it is okay. You can move back if you just hate it, or your family can always come and visit you. Like it's literally 7 hours away. Like just calm down. It's millions of people do this. This isn't crazy. Like we
Yeah.
weren't giving up our careers because all we did was transfer everything over. So we still, had our jobs in place. We still like knew everything was going to be the same, except we were just living a little bit further, a
Yeah.
couple hours away. And she was like, just calm down, just breathe. It's gonna be fine. So like, yeah, at first I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a terrible decision. This is a terrible idea. Like, please, please tell me that this is the right decision. And she was like, stop second guessing yourself. You've done this because we wanted to move like years ago. We
Hmm.
wanted to try before we had 3 kids. We wanted to try it out, and they were like, "No, don't." And obviously, we were younger, so we were
Yeah.
like, "Okay, like maybe we won't leave home." And then
Hmm.
as we got older, we were like, if we would have done this like years ago, we could have figured this out by now. and
Yeah.
everyone just made us so terrified to do it. So we were like, no, we're gonna do it this time because if we don't do it now, we're never gonna do it. It's never gonna happen. What if we were in some sort of career or something that made us move? What were they gonna do then? So we were just
Right.
like, yeah, it's
Well,
not the end of the world.
yes. Well, it would almost be justified then. Like if you had a job transfer, it's almost
Right.
justified because like then you're doing it for work and you have to provide for your family and pay the bills.
Exactly. So and
But
I
when
was
you're
like,
just like on a whim, they're like,
yeah, they're
no.
like, what's happening? But I was, in all fairness, we did like we talked about moving for a few years before, and we like dipped our toe in the water with telling our family like, we're gonna move out of state, and they were like, okay, and they just kind of they were like, whatever, they're not actually gonna go, and then we
Yeah.
would change our mind obviously because the state would be too expensive, and we'd be like, nah. And then when we finally did it, they were like, "Oh my gosh, they're so serious! Like they're selling stuff. Like they're actually this is happening right now." Like everyone was freaking out. It was like a whole thing.
So did your kids freak out too?
Our younger ones were kind of like, okay, like they were like, whatever, like sure, because my at the time, our youngest was 5, so she was just like, sure, whatever. And
It's
then
an
our son
adventure.
is, yeah, our son is pretty chill, so he's just like, whatever you guys want to do. Our oldest was like, well, I'm absolutely not moving because I'm not leaving my dance team and my best friends, and it's not happening. Like, you're ruining my life, of course, like the whole
Yes.
spiel. So we let her stay with my mom and continue on with her dance team. And I just kind of go back and forth now because we were like, she has 1 year of school left and then she's off to college. So we were like, there's no need to uproot all of
Yes.
that. But the younger ones were like, whatever, we don't care. We're in elementary school. Like, do whatever you want, mom and dad. So they were along for the ride. They were like, whatever. But my oldest was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing it.
Well, I think it's really awesome that you allowed her to stay with your mom, because I can't say that. Like for me, that would be a hard decision because
Yeah.
like 7 hours away and not seeing her every day, and then like traveling back and forth. So how did you manage that with still doing podcasting, with still taking care of your younger two, and like just mom life in general? Like how did you manage all of that?
It's I mean, it's a lot. It was a lot of we did like family therapy and stuff like prior to, because this is I mean, there's a lot of people that have done it before. So we talked to other people, that have also had their kids stay somewhere where they had to like leave or when they moved, and kind of like went through that whole process to make it as easy of a transition as possible. And then we also kind of make a schedule. So I go on certain months, or we have like, vacations in certain times. And then when she has vacations in school and everything, she's here with us. So we kind of just worked it around our schedule so it wasn't as big of a shock. It was still a lot because it's still a big adjustment. I've raised her since she was a baby, so like to
Yeah.
be away from her was like really hard at first, but working with our therapist and everything, and just kind of taking it one step at a time, and me being able to that was another reason why we didn't want to go too far away,
Hmm.
because since she was going to stay on her dance team and everything, we still wanted to be able to go for like competitions and everything else because there's still traveling involved in that. And then I just kind of work with my younger ones with their school schedule. And for the first 2 years we were here, they were homeschooled. So because of lockdown and everything else, so
Hmm.
everything was digital. So we could kind of move around, kind of like work from home.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my thing anyway. I was transitioning into work from home. So we kind of just work our schedules around whenever we go to Florida.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Because when we moved last year, so Lily was 11 and a half and Casey was 8 and a half.
Okay.
And they caught me looking on Zillow at houses and they're like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just looking. Cause like at that point it was kind of like I said, let's move. And we are like, okay. So our stipulation, so this is our third time moving. We moved from from Delaware to Maryland and now Maryland to PA.
Okay.
in terms of like home ownership. And because we lived in New Hampshire for 5 years and moved back home to Delaware after living in New Hampshire. And so, we always said, like, this Maryland house, this is it, this is our forever home, we're never moving. And so our kids had heard us say that over and over and over.
Yeah.
And then when they saw me looking at houses on Zillow, they're like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm just looking. Nothing, because the stipulation was the backyard had to be as nice or better than what we currently had.
Okay.
And that was our rule for when we sold our Delaware house. Like, the house that we
Yeah.
moved to, the backyard had to be as nice or better than what we had. And so that's like a really narrow search engine option. And so there wasn't really anything coming up, and everything was so overpriced, yada, yada, yada. So when we finally broke the news to them, my Lily, my older, she completely lost her shit. She screamed at us. She was like, you lied to us. You betrayed us. You deceived us. I was
Oh
like,
goodness.
I was like, whoa,
Like, wait a
whoa.
minute. Like, what is happening right now?
So now she tells us, if she says, if you ever move again, I'm going to run away with the circus.
That's hilarious. Yeah, our younger two, thankfully, were like they were just like whatever. But like our oldest she was like, oh no, like you will have to drag me to that new state, kicking and screaming, because I am not doing it. Please don't make me do it. Like she was literally like pitching ideas to my mom. Like, please, can I stay here? Like, please, I cannot leave my best friends our senior year. Like it was no, it
Yes.
was not happening. Like she was freaking out.
Yeah. My younger, she once, because we also thought about having a house built. And so
Yeah.
then she was like, you mean I get to design my bedroom from scratch? Yes, you do. When are we leaving? Like,
Right. It's like, okay, I'm packed. I'm ready to go. Let's go right now.
yeah, I was like, well, that's all it took. You're an easy sell.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny how they, can react so differently. Um, I think if Lily had, like, if it was kind of the situation where you were in, she would have totally been doing the same thing. Like, how can I finagle my way to stay and not
Yeah.
really have to do this, for sure. But our move, we were only 45 minutes away.
Okay.
So it's not, they're still going to the same school. And that was the other stipulation. She was like, we will only agree to this move if we get to go to the same school. And I'm thinking to myself, well, we had already planned to keep you at the same school, and you're moving whether you're going to the same school or not. So
Right.
start packing.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a military kid, so I was used to moving. So I guess like my oldest reaction, I was just like, oh, like I thought this was gonna be like, cool, yay. But like she was like, absolutely not. Like we've never really moved that far away from our family. So like,
Yeah.
what are you doing right now? Like, and the other ones were like, okay. So yeah, as I was used to moving a lot, so I understood like her not wanting to because she had gone to like the same school, had the same friends and everything all the way up until now. So it was like, okay, like I get it. Our younger ones had like kind of just started school. They were just kind of getting acclimated. So they were just like, whatever, we can make new friends. Like that was literally, they were like, we can make new friends. But like my oldest was like, absolutely not. I can't make new friends. Don't make me do it. Like I'm
Yeah.
about to graduate soon. Please don't make me do it. So that was like the main reason we were just like, okay, like we'll try and like work it out so that way you can have your last 2 years, in the school, and then you'll be done anyway, so you won't even have to stress about it.
Yeah. And so were you met with criticism from like friends and family for that decision too?
My friends were pretty supportive. My friends actually were like supportive the whole way. They were like, yeah, like just move, like try something new. People do it all the time. It's not the end of the world. You can move back. That was literally like everyone was like, okay, but you can move back. Like you're not giving up your citizenship. Like it's
Yeah.
just one state away. Like you're fine. So they were all pretty on board. They were like, cool, that's do what you gotta do, figure it out. And my family was the one I was just like, oh, I can't believe this. But like yeah, for the most part, I mean, it was kind of like 50-50, I guess. Like our friends and stuff, they were like, yeah, that's great. I mean, some of our friends were just like, no, please don't leave. But they've come to visit us since then. So they're fine. But everyone else was like, yeah, like do that. Move. We want to move. Like now everyone's like, oh, wait, you guys actually did it. Now I want to move. So like now some of our friends are like looking into like moving and trying new things. So
Yeah.
I think it was kind of like a 50-50 split on support. And like now our family's just kind of like, oh, okay, you guys haven't like crashed and burned another state away from us, so
Hmm.
it's okay now. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like because so we moved up to New Hampshire so that my husband could go to school and for his master's for his law degree, and I still had to finish my undergrad, and so I finished up there. And moving to New Hampshire was one of the best things that I'd ever done. And we were young, so we were 22, and
okay,
we lived there until we were just like 28. So we lived there about 5.5 years. And then, so we lived there, went to school, graduated, got jobs there. And then his job right out of after graduation was only a 2-year position. So then it was like we were looking, and my family kept saying, like, when are you coming home? We miss you. When are you coming home? And I thought, like, never. Like never. 8 hours
yeah,
away from you people is perfect. Um, so then when his position ended, then we were really not sure where we were going to end up. It was like Massachusetts, still New Hampshire, another New England state, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware. And everyone, of course, was like, Delaware, 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 because that's where our family is from and where we grew up. So
yeah.
everyone was, of course, rooting for Delaware, but we kind of secretly were like, well, if we have to. And sure enough, he ended up getting a job in Delaware. So back home we came, and everyone was
They were like,
ecstatic. Yes, but me
got
sometimes
what we
I
wanted.
miss New Hampshire so much. Like sometimes I cry. I'm just like, oh, I just need New England. Like I
Yeah.
just need it. So we've only been back since we moved in 2011. We only have been back there one time. And that was, gosh, 7 years ago already,
Okay.
for vacation. So we're like long overdue to get back up there and get some New England vibes in us. But it was just like being away from everyone, like spreading our wings, totally stepping out of our comfort zone, exploring places that we had never been. Just having that independence and that freedom was amazing. So I like all my cousins who are now at the age of like going to college or just graduating college. I'm like, leave, go away,
Yeah.
go, and don't think twice about it. Go have fun. You might decide to stay there. We'll come visit you, but like you need to get the hell out of here to
Yeah.
actually see what life is about.
Yeah, we have that's our oldest, she actually travels because our she goes to see family in Texas. Her dad's family lives in Texas, so they go travel, they go hiking, they do stuff like that because I always tell her like don't get too comfortable in Florida. I'm trying to tell you right now, all these friends that you're BFFs with in high school, 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna be your best friends, but whatever.
Yes.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yes.
But I'm like, please, like, do some traveling, do some exploring before you start laying down roots, having kids, like getting in a long term relationship. Like, just kind of explore and live your life. Because my husband and I, we got married extremely young. So I was 23 and he was 22. So we had absolutely no idea what we were doing. We were just off figuring life out together. And I'm like, try and figure yourself out first. Like that's
Yes.
very important. I try and instill that in my kids. Like, yeah, it's all fun and games with the fairy tale and the young romance and whatever. But like,
Yes.
no, live your life because you're gonna regret when you don't. When you get older, you're gonna be like, oh, I wish I took that trip when I didn't have the
Yes.
9,000 other responsibilities. I wish I would have. It's like don't wish on it. Do it now while you can, while you're young, while you can just wake up at noon on the
Yes.
weekend and do whatever. Do that now because
Yes.
you will regret it when you become an adult.
Yes. And that was the thing. So like my husband and I, we started dating, let's see, shortly after were we 22? Yes. So we were 22 when we started dating. I guess we were 23 when we moved to New Hampshire because we had been dating for a year at that point. Um, but he like did like life more traditionally. So like I always
Yeah.
give him a hard time because I'm like, if there's ever a family with a white picket fence, it's yours. Like his parents have been married almost 60 years. He's the youngest
Oh
of three
wow.
boys. Like they're the typical, like stereotypical, like all-American family.
Yeah.
Like, my family, not even close. We're like the Clampets or like the Simpsons or something. I don't know. We're just dysfunctional, like a hot mess, like drama going generations back. And
Yeah.
my husband's family is so like polar opposite. And so when we first started dating, I was like, oh my God, your family is going to think like I'm such white trash. He was like, no, they're not. They're going to like you. So like meeting his parents for the first time, I cried the whole way there. I was like, turn around, turn around. We like, I can't go there. Like, I can't like turn around. Like, this isn't going to go well. Just please turn around. And now 18 years later, here we are. But
Yeah.
he went to college right out of high school. He did study abroad for a semester. He did, like Spanish trip and band trip in middle school and high school. So like he's been to Europe, he's been all over the US, and like I didn't. So I was in an abusive relationship with my high school boyfriend and talked to my parents for 5.5 years. So like I did junior and senior prom, but like I didn't do junior or senior homecoming. Like I missed out on so many like Bell's Ball and all of these dances and things. I missed out on playing sports, and I didn't go to college right out of high school. So I missed out on like the traditional college experience of like living in
Yeah.
dorms and like study abroad and all of those things. And then like I left that relationship of 5.5 years. I was single just shy of a year, and then my husband and I started dating. So like I literally went from one relationship to the next, and then we were together, we for 4 years got married, and then within a year and a half being married we had our first kid, then 3 years later we had the second kid. And so like that's all she wrote. So that's why I'm like, me going to New Hampshire when we were dating and living there, that was like my form of spreading my wings.
Yeah.
And that was so freeing. And not having my family, because my family also can be very like clingy sometimes, and
Yeah.
so like not having that was
Hmm.
so incredible. So like I know it's going to be hard, as when my girls are old enough to go to college and like flee the nest, to like give them that push and be
Yeah.
like, go spread your wings, because I'm going to be like, no, just stay here, you can live at home for free while you're in college and you don't ever have to leave. And it's
Yeah.
okay because we live close to college, so like you can just stay here.
Yeah, that was me and both me and my husband, like we didn't do like the traditional college. Like I wish I did. My other siblings have like more of a traditional college experience. Me, I was like the first kid. I always say I was like the practice kid, because like the first kid is the one that your parents are trying to figure it out. And my
That's
parents were
me.
young, so we were just flying by the seat of our pants. So
Yes.
neither of us did the traditional college. I did community college and trades, and got my license in cosmetology, and just did like basic associates. But all of my college experiences were like right in my community. Like I never
Yes.
left. So I didn't go to university. I didn't like have the sorority experience. I used to watch the movie The House Bunny. It's like one of my favorite movies. And I was like, oh, I wish I could be in a sorority so bad. Like that was the one thing that I was like, I just really wanted that college experience. So I
Yes.
try and tell my kids all the time, like, you don't have to go to college, but like just like live, like try
Yes.
and explore things while you can, because you
Hmm.
never know what you miss until you're older and you see other people like, wait a minute, like I didn't know that was an option back then. Like
Yes.
so yeah, that was we neither of us did. Like my husband didn't go to college, he just does trades. He went straight into building his business. And then me, I did like my little associates, and then I just was like, nah, I'm not doing that at all. I'm gonna go and be a cosmetologist. So we both kind of like went off the path and just kind of figured it out as we went along. So we're both, I mean, both of our families are, mine's a little more structured. So I came from like a little more of a structured childhood, especially with a military parent. Like it was not happening with the dysfunction.
Yeah.
But my family is like, we're quiet, dis quietly dysfunctional. Like
Yes.
on the outside, it's looking great.
Yes. Same.
But my husband's, they are who they are. They're like, take it or leave it. Like we don't care. So I was like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna meet your parents. And he was like, look, I'm gonna give you the warning right now. Okay, they are wild. So buckle up. Like I was like, okay. And so we came from just figuring it out. Like both
Yes.
of our parents were young when they had us, and we were all just figuring it out together. So
Yes. Yeah. My parents were young too. My mom was much younger than my dad. So my mom was 21. Well, when she got
okay.
pregnant, 22 when she had me, and my dad was 27. So my dad was like older, but still like young and figuring it out.
Yeah.
So I just try to remember, like, they did the best that they could with the knowledge and skills that they had. And like, we're
Right.
doing the same. But it's always like if I can leave things just a little bit better than what they were left for me, then I'm like, check, I'm doing a great job.
Yeah, yeah, my dad went straight into the military, like, out of like, he was 18 and it was, like, military, so, like,
Yes.
that's his that's his thing, and then my parents they were high school sweethearts, and then they got married, so I'm thinking of when I was in high school, and I'm like, "I could never be smart, like, why would I even wanna get married
Right.
fresh out of high school? No, thank you, like, I'm not trying to do that." So, yeah,
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, they definitely were trying to figure it out, like, they were newbies to the world too.
Yes. Imagine the pressure. I mean, there's so much
Yeah.
pressure now, but imagine the pressure to be like fresh out of high school and just like getting married and like starting a life.
Yeah, you're like 19 with a baby, which I had my first at 18, and I was just like, "What am I supposed to do with this person?" Like,
Right.
I am still trying to figure out my life. I don't even know who I am. Like, there was many nights where we were just crying together because I was like, "I don't know, and neither do you." Like,
Yes. I still felt like that at 27 when I had my first.
yeah, I was like, "What is?" Well, I mean, even when our 7-year-old, like right now, I'm still like, "Why do people keep giving? Why do they keep letting me leave the hospital with these kids? Like, I don't." I'm supposed to keep these people alive, like, every time, like, "Guys, come on, like, it's a lot." I don't know why whose idea this was, like, "Yeah, you're qualified, you're good, just take it home, you'll figure it out." It's like,
Yeah, it's
"Okay,
like
cool."
you've kept yourself alive this long so you can do it for someone else.
Right, it's like,
Enjoy.
"Yeah, you guys will figure it out, you'll be fine."
Yeah, yeah. So there are times where it's like now I'm 40 and so I'm like, oh, but there are times where I still like I'm like, oh, just maybe one more baby. And the look at my husband, he's like, no, like no more. I'm like, you're right, no more. I don't know what I was thinking, like lapse of judgment. No, no. So now I need
And
to
my
find
husband's
people
the
that are
opposite, he's always like, "1 more," and I'm like, "Absolutely not, get away
yeah,
from me, it's not happening." Like,
yes.
definitely not happening, definitely not 1 more.
So now I'm like, I need to find friends that are having babies so that I can love the baby and
Right,
then
just
be
go
like,
play with that baby.
yes, and be like, okay, thank you for sharing. Now you can take your baby home.
Right,
And I'm gonna
exactly,
sleep
like,
tonight.
let me see all the babies now, and then I will go home and not have to wake up in 45 minutes to feed a baby. No, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes. So I'm like, maybe the next step is a puppy. We'll see. Well, we have
Yeah,
two grumpy old dogs. So I'm like, there will
yeah,
be no puppies entering this house until those fur kids have crossed the rainbow bridge. So we'll
yeah.
see.
Ours, I don't know, she's getting a little older, so she might not be so well like, "Ugh, what is this new baby? Like, gross, get it away from me."
Yes.
So I don't know, we might have to, like, talk to her a little bit about it, let her see some other puppies and be around them, and then maybe she'll warm up to the idea.
Yeah, no, my brother just got a puppy last summer. And so Franklin, he like wags his tail and he gets so excited and he cries. Like he wants to be friends. So we safely introduced them and he started growling. I'm like, Franklin,
Oh,
you mean old man. It's a
right.
baby. Like we don't
Like,
growl
he
at the
just wants to
babies.
play.
And
Yeah,
then
they don't care. They're like, "Ugh, no, get out of my space."
yeah, and then Winnie's just frozen, and I'm like, okay, are you gonna just like bite him? Are you gonna growl at him? Like, or are you just gonna stand there like a statue? Like, I don't know what you're gonna do, so, and I don't trust you. So I'm like, okay, that settled it. Like, no puppies until they're done.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so again, I just have to find people with puppies so I can love on their puppies and then send them
exactly.
home. Oh my gosh. Well, this is. I feel like we could just chat and chat and chat forever and ever
I
and ever.
know, I
Um,
know.
it's been so great chatting. I just want to say, like, kudos to you for like stepping out of your comfort zone, not like doing it despite the judgments, the criticisms, the whispers of it's a terrible idea, and like just owning it and doing it.
Thank you. Oh, there she is
There
right
she is. I
there.
see her.
She
She's like,
came
I
to
just had to make an appearance, just
yeah,
briefly.
just once. She's like, "I'm here. I just wanted you to know."
She's so cute. Mine are locked downstairs in the family room with my 12-year-old because the kitchen people are still not here. But I was like, the last
Oh,
thing I
goodness.
need is for the kitchen people to show up and the dogs are loose in the house.
Yeah.
Because Franklin will just get in their way, but I don't trust Winnie not to like bite the man on the leg or something. So
Mine will just follow them around the house like, "Oh, are you gonna pet me? Are you gonna pet me now? Are you gonna pet me now?" It's like, "Can you leave them alone, please, so they can work and go home?" Like,
yes,
get away from them.
yes. Yeah, so she's like, so Lily was like, how long are you gonna be? I'm like, I don't know, Lily, when I'm done, I'll be back down. And she's like, okay, as I'm like closing the doors and like, have fun with the barking dogs.
Yeah, my kids will just like poke their head in, like, "Are you done? Are you done?" Or I'll see like one like worming their way like on my office floor trying to figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah. It's like close the door. Even when you lock it, like even the cat sticks his paw under and tries to open the door. I'm like, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
even
she'll
get.
scratch until you open that door. She is at the door like, "Ma'am, excuse me, please open."
Yes, it's like really for kids, human kids, it's like go bug the dad, like go bug him. But if they don't, like he'll be sitting in the room with us and he'll be doing nothing. And then I'm like
Right.
sitting there like reading a book or trying to take a nap. And they're like, Mom, are you awake? Like you see my
Like,
eyes are closed. So the answer is
quiet.
no.
Right, like, "Please leave me alone, like, go over there with your dad." Like, he would love some company right now, I'm sure.
Yeah, even the animals, it's the same thing. It's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It cracks me up though. So I'm like, huh, the difference between mom life and dad life.
Yeah, the comfort. I would love to swap places for a day just to see what that feels like, what dad life is like.
Yes, honestly, I don't even think we would know what to do with ourselves though.
Right, we were just like, "Oh my gosh, this shouldn't we be doing something? Like, what's happening right now? Like,
Yeah,
nothing's getting done."
yes. Well, only the things that they want to get done.
Right, right. They'll be out. I'm like, this is what you guys do all day. Like, this is so boring. I tell my husband that all the time. Like, this is so boring. Like, this is what you enjoy. I'm like, okay, I guess. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So, well, thank you so much for chatting and joining us on One of a Kind You. I will have to do it again. I'll have to have you back
yeah,
on and we can chat again.
yeah, definitely. This was so fun. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
of course. It was a pleasure. So, if you loved this episode, feel free to share it with a friend because the more the merrier. And if you'd be so kind to leave a review, I would greatly appreciate it because I take the time to read all the reviews to ensure that this podcast continues to be a place of support and guidance and really a one stop shop kind of resource. Because let's face it, us moms and us women, we have to stick together. So thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of One of a Kind You, and I will see you next week.